You wake up in a room you don't recognize. It's cold, quiet, too quiet, and something is crunching under your shoulder. Welcome to your first and last night in a medieval bedroom. You've gone to sleep in the 21st century and somehow opened your eyes in 1382. Before we begin, if you're already feeling the warm pull of curiosity or exhaustion, go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment your time and location below. It helps the other sleepy travelers find their way here. Now lie back, take a deep breath, and don't touch anything strange near the wall. Because tonight, you'll learn why you absolutely wouldn't survive this room. The first thing that hits you is the smell. It's not foul exactly, just alive. Damp wood, faint smoke, a pinch of wool sweat. You're lying on what someone once proudly called a feather bed, but those feathers, they've seen some things. This isn't your bedroom. It's a shared sleeping chamber, and you are absolutely not alone. To your left, a bearded man in a linen tunic. His snoring is aggressive, like someone gargling river rocks. To your right, a child, possibly yours, possibly someone else's. She's wrapped in a fur pelt and hugging a turnip like a teddy bear. You try to sit up, but your head hits a slanted ceiling beam, low and splintered. The room is no larger than a walk-in closet, yet it holds 5 humans, a chicken, and 2 bedbugs, one of which has just waved hello. Welcome to the medieval practice of co-sleeping. Most families, regardless of status, slept in the same room and often the same bed. Privacy wasn't just rare, it was basically heresy. The closer you slept, the warmer you stayed, and the more likely you were to survive the winter. But you're already feeling your 21st century anxiety bubble. "Where's the bathroom?" you whisper. The answer? There isn't one. Medieval bedrooms did not include what you'd recognize as plumbing. If you're in a wealthier home, there may be a chamber pot, a ceramic bowl used for nighttime relief. It lives under the bed and is emptied once a day by someone you hope is not you. In poorer homes, the solution is simpler. You don't go at night, you hold it. You sweat it out. You do not, under any circumstance, step outside. That's how people vanish. There is no lamp to turn on. The candle burned out 2 hours ago, and your neighbor ate the tallow for warmth. So you lie there, staring at the exposed beams of the ceiling, hoping that the thud overhead is just the wind and not the attic rat making his nightly pilgrimage across the rafters. Let's talk about the bed itself. You're lying on a wood frame stuffed with hay, straw, or, if you're lucky, goose feathers. But more often, beds were more often filled with something called chaff, a mixture of plant husks, dry leaves, and whatever else could be foraged. It rustles with every shift of your body, and it attracts guests. Not the fun kind. Lice, fleas, mites, and even tiny worms found bedding an excellent place to winter. Bedbug infestations were so common, some texts describe them in religious metaphors. And lo, the cursed beast did plague the soft places of rest. Lovely. Still feel sleepy? Candle. The medieval bedroom is not just a place of rest, it's a living ecosystem. There's warmth, there's community, but there's also superstition. You glance toward the corner of the room. Someone has painted a protective rune above the wooden doorframe. It looks like a child's scribble, but it's meant to ward off demons, especially those that arrive at night. Remember, for many in this time, night is dangerous, not just because of crime or wild animals, but because night is when spirits move. The bed is your protection, or your prison. A traveler sleeping in an unfamiliar house might wake to find someone has placed iron scissors beneath their pillow. Why? To cut through evil dreams. Or they may hang a sprig of rue above the headboard. believed to confuse witches. And if the fire burns too low, you don't relight it. You whisper a prayer and wrap your feet in warm cabbage leaves. Because that's what Nana did, and she lived to 34. There's no clock on the wall, only your internal rhythm, and maybe the rooster outside if he's feeling generous. Time moves differently here. You wake not by alarm, but by the natural pause between the first sleep and second sleep. A two-part slumber once common across Europe. It's about 1:30 a.m. You've now entered the in-between time, when people used to wake, think, pray, drink, or quietly visit neighbors. You sit up. Everyone else is asleep. You realize the child is still hugging that turnip. It's probably better that way. And you begin to realize that this bedroom is not trying to kill you, not directly. It just doesn't care whether you make it or not, which is, in many ways, the most medieval thing of all. You're cold, your back itches, you're 600 years from your thermostat, and we've only just begun.
You rise slowly, joints stiff from the uneven mattress, every movement setting off a soft, straw-filled crunch. The others remain asleep, wrapped in furs, snoring into shared blankets, their breaths puffing like mist in the cold morning air. The turnip child is still hugging her prize, oblivious. You consider slipping away quietly, but where exactly would you go? This isn't your home. This is a 14th century peasant dwelling, and you're just another body wedged into its single-room chaos. You swing your legs out from under the covers, and your feet meet the stone floor, cold, unforgiving, and dusted with crumbs, ash, and what might be breadcrumbs, or rat leavings, or both. There are no socks, there are no slippers. You're wearing whatever you slept in, which is probably a long linen tunic and a pair of underhose tied with laces that itch just a bit too much in all the wrong places. As you stand, your back protests. The straw mattress didn't do you any favors. But the ache in your joints? Totally normal. Most people back then had it, especially peasants. Chronic pain was just life. People aged fast. Knees cracked by 30, teeth ached by 20, and everyone walked like they'd spent the night fighting a mule. You look around. The fire in the hearth is out. No one relit it. You recall, it was taboo to restart a fire before dawn, especially alone. Embers were precious, the hearth sacred. Reigniting it was either a ritual or a group effort. Either way, you're not in charge. You spot a wooden bucket near the door. It's half full of water from last night, slightly cloudy. You dip your fingers in. It's freezing. This, my sleepy traveler, is your morning wash. No toothpaste, no mirror, just a splash of cold water and a quick pat down of your face and arms. You glance toward a cracked, dull piece of polished metal leaning on a shelf. Maybe it was once a mirror, but now it's just a warped shimmer of reflection. Honestly, you don't want to see yourself in it. Someone stirs in bed. The bearded man coughs like he's trying to evict a ghost from his chest. A rooster crows. The day has officially begun. Let's pause here for a moment. How many people do you think shared this room last night? 5? 7? Maybe more? In many medieval households, especially among the working class, entire families, sometimes 2 or 3 generations, slept in a single room. Even the animals joined in. That clucking noise you heard last night? Probably a chicken warming its feet by the fire. That furry thing near your toes? Hopefully a cat. Hopefully. This wasn't just tradition, it was survival. Shared warmth, shared space, shared noise, smell, and every awkward midnight movement. And while you're used to sleep as a private, personal experience, in the Middle Ages, sleep was communal, public, and layered with rules. Take, for instance, the concept of first sleep and second sleep, which we mentioned earlier. Let's go deeper. People didn't just crash at 10 p.m. and wake up at 7 a.m. Night was broken into two sleep phases, what historians call a segmented sleep cycle. You'd fall asleep early, perhaps after supper and some faint prayers. You'd sleep for 4 or 5 hours. Then, somewhere between midnight and 2 a.m., you'd naturally wake up, not from noise or a nightmare, just awake, alert, and this was normal. People expected it. During this in-between period, known as the watch, they might stoke the fire, say prayers, have quiet conversations with their spouse or children, write in journals or read religious texts, if literate, or, in some cases, pay their neighbors a visit for, shall we say, social or romantic purposes. Imagine waking in the night and hearing your neighbor quietly knock to ask about that recipe for leek pie, or something even more personal. It was a liminal time, a mysterious time, and in many superstitious villages, it was also considered the hour when spirits were most active. So, what do you do, newly awake, sharing a straw mattress with 4 strangers? You stay quiet. You don't light the fire. You lie back down and try not to make eye contact with the cracked wall that maybe, just moved. You try to distract yourself by looking around the bedroom. Let's describe it more closely. The ceiling is low, beams thick with soot from decades of indoor fires. The walls are daub and wattle, straw, mud, and wooden lath bound together like a clay sandwich. They breathe in winter and leak in spring. There's no artwork, no shelves of books, just a few hanging objects, a string of garlic, a cloth pouch filled with dried herbs, and a wooden cross half carved with a knife. A tiny clay figurine sits in a niche above the hearth. It's either a saint or a very tired-looking mouse. The air is still, and outside you hear the faintest creak of cartwheels and a distant dog barking. It's morning, time to start your day. You think again about how little privacy exists in this room. There's no door separating the sleeping space from the cooking hearth or the animal corner. If you're a mother, you're likely to give birth right here. If you're dying, same spot. The bed is not just for sleep. It's the site of birth, sickness, storytelling, prayer, gossip, grief, and comfort. It is, in some ways, the center of medieval emotional life. Which makes it strange, doesn't it, that you can't stand another second in it. You stretch again and feel the ache in your spine, the weight of linen on your shoulders, the itchy wool of someone else's blanket clinging to your ankle. And then you remember, you're not supposed to be here. You're a visitor, a time traveler, a lost modern soul. And you're hungry.
You're still sitting on the edge of the mattress, or at least what passes for one. The rush of cold stone beneath your feet hasn't gotten any friendlier. You wiggle your toes, hoping circulation returns before breakfast, which, spoiler alert, isn't going to be what you think it is. There's no coffee, no toaster, no waffle-scented air. Instead, a faint whiff of cabbage water drifts from the hearth, mingling with smoke and old hay. You begin to understand something profound. In this room, the bedroom and kitchen are the same place. That's right, you're now sleeping in what is also the cooking zone, the birthing area, the recovery room, and the general hangout space. It's all one multi-purpose medieval marvel. If open concept living was a buzzword in your world, here it's just unavoidable. You take a few tentative steps toward the hearth. It's a simple stone alcove with blackened bricks and half-burned logs. Someone's hung a small iron pot over the coals. It bubbles faintly. You lift the lid with a stick. Inside, porridge. Sort of. A grayish blend of oats, barley, possibly turnip, and is that a feather? Congratulations! It's time for breakfast. Now, before you start critiquing this with your oat milk and cinnamon sugar sensibilities, remember that food was survival, not Instagram content. A warm meal, even a bland one, was a comfort. And in colder regions or poor villages, this might be the only hot thing you'd consume all day. Breakfast was often just a continuation of dinner, leftovers scraped from the same pot. If you were lucky, someone stirred it with a clean spoon. If not, well, heat kills germs, right? You find a wooden bowl on a bench, stained from years of use. Someone's carved initials into it, maybe generations ago. You ladle in your scoop and sit down on a chest against the wall. The porridge steams faintly in the morning air. No one speaks, not yet. Just a few coughs, a sniffle, a child whimpering in sleep. Morning is a quiet process here. Voices rise slowly, like dough left by the hearth. You notice an old woman unwrapping cloth from her feet, revealing wrinkled skin wrapped in leaves. Cabbage leaves, actually. It's a remedy for cold toes, aching joints, and possibly spiritual protection, depending on who you ask. You try not to stare. Across the room, a man sharpens a small knife. His eyes are still half closed. The sound is gentle, rhythmic. You wonder briefly if this will become threatening. But no, he's just trimming a dried apple. Everyone is doing their version of waking up, but none of it looks like your morning routine. There's no brushing teeth, no scrolling a phone, no flipping lights on. Just instinct, movement, ritual without rush. You finish your bowl. It's not bad, just unfamiliar. A little gritty, maybe sour. It fills your stomach, which is more than most meals in this era accomplish. You're starting to feel adjusted. You reach for a jug of water and take a sip. It tastes a bit smoky, a bit stale. That's normal. Clean water was a constant challenge, especially in towns. Wells were unreliable, streams were shared with livestock. Rain barrels helped, but winter could freeze everything solid. And this water? It's probably been sitting all night, maybe mixed with herbs to mask the taste. You'd kill for tea, or just a lemon wedge. But there are no lemons in 14th century England, not here. Now the room is stirring more. One by one, people rise and fold away their bedding. You spot a pile of rushes in the corner, tied with cord. These will be spread across the floor later, soaked in oils or dried herbs to absorb moisture and smells. They're changed maybe once a month, if you're lucky. And here's where things get interesting. Someone opens a small wooden shutter on the far wall. Outside, it's misty and gray. A rooster struts across a muddy lane. Smoke curls from a neighbor's roof. The world is waking. But you? You still haven't figured out what happens next. Because it's not like everyone goes off to school or the office. For many medieval households, life happened in the home, or just outside it. If you were a farmer, you'd be outside by now, feeding animals or checking traps. If you were a spinner, a weaver, a baker, your work might happen right here, in this same room. So yes, the bedroom is also the workshop, too. In fact, you now realize that a woman is setting up a spindle near the hearth, preparing wool to be spun into thread. A man lifts a small bench and begins cobbling shoes. Children sweep. A younger girl rolls dough for flatbread. There is no off time. Sleep ends and work begins, often in the same breath. And just when you think this room can't multitask any harder,
Someone pulls a wooden bench toward the bed and opens a sack of onions. It's time to cook lunch, using the same hearth you just washed your face over. You sit back and take it all in. Your bed is now a seat. Your breakfast was last night's dinner. Your morning shower was a splash of cold, questionable water. And your living space is a swirling stew of sleep, labor, chatter, smells, and daily routine. This room isn't just your bedroom anymore. It's your world. And you're starting to realize that the medieval bedroom wasn't just a place of rest. It was the stage on which life played out. Birth, illness, work, conflict, intimacy, sleep, all in one contained wooden-smelling cube. Before we close this section, a small but fascinating tidbit. In some households, especially larger or wealthier ones, people used to name their beds. That's right, beds were so valuable, so central to life, they were passed down through wills and given pet names. A family might refer to Old Mary, meaning the feather bed with the oak frame, passed down from Grandma Agnes. Or the tall straw, meaning the raised straw bed used for guests or travelers. Your bed wasn't just where you slept. It was a status symbol, an heirloom, a comfort, and a deathbed, all in one. Which brings us back to you. You're starting to feel sleepy again. Or maybe it's the barley mush. Either way, your legs ache, your stomach groans gently, and the straw pile is looking more appealing than it did earlier. But your place has already been taken by the neighbor's cousin who's decided to nap through the morning bread baking. So you grab a folded cloth, settle near the hearth, and wrap yourself in a scratchy wool blanket. Someone hands you a mug of warm ale. You sip, and you start to understand the rhythm of this place. You didn't think you'd nap again, but you did. Maybe it was the warm ale, maybe it was the faint thrum of bread being kneaded, or maybe your 21st century brain just finally surrendered to the rhythm of medieval life, where time flows less like a clock and more like a slow current of repetition, hunger, and small chores. You wake mid-afternoon, curled under a borrowed wool cloak near the hearth. The room smells different now, fresher. Someone has laid new rushes on the floor. The dried herbs crushed underfoot give off a faint scent of rosemary, maybe thyme. It's the closest thing you've had to aromatherapy in days. The light has changed too, golden and lower, coming in at an angle through the open shutters. Dust motes spin in the beam like little spell fragments. The whole space feels less like a bedroom now, more like a workshop that had a very chaotic sleepover. You stretch quietly. Across the room, a woman hums while stirring something in the pot. Soup, you think. A child is threading string through wooden buttons. An old man, eyes half closed, rocks slowly on a stool. Not quite asleep, not quite awake. It's a kind of restful idleness that modern life doesn't really allow for. No screens, no schedule, just a long, comfortable pause. And yet, there are rules. In this world, sleeping too long during the day is considered spiritually risky. Oversleeping invites bad winds or wandering thoughts. Some believe demons might perch on your chest if you're lazy. Others say napping too long in daylight steals your dreams at night. A boy nearby wakes with a start and knocks over a basket of onions. No one scolds him. A girl giggles. Life continues. And that's when you see it again. The mirror. It's really just a polished sheet of bronze, warped and tarnished. But in this light, it gleams faintly, catching the late sun. It leans on the shelf near the bed, angled just so. No one seems to notice it, or maybe no one wants to. You get up slowly and approach. Your reflection wavers. The room behind you shimmers in the metal. You lean closer, and for a second, just a flicker, the figure in the mirror isn't you. Not exactly. The eyes are yours, but the posture is wrong. The tilt of the head, unfamiliar. The mouth is just slightly smiling? You blink. It's gone. The mirror shows only you now, sleep-rumpled, hay in your hair, questioning everything. Someone clears their throat behind you. You turn quickly. It's the same bearded man from this morning. He looks tired in that ageless, dirt-worn way of old villagers. He nods toward the mirror. "Not everything wants to be seen after dark," he mutters, and walks past. No one else comments. The mirror stays quiet.
Let's be honest. If you, with your modern comforts, fell asleep in a medieval bedroom, you wouldn't make it through the night. Not because of bandits or beasts, but because you'd be utterly unprepared for the quiet brutality of ordinary life. The bed that wasn't yours. First of all, the bed isn't yours. It's shared with your cousin's child, and possibly an unrelated pilgrim passing through. Your straw-stuffed mattress has fleas, the linen sheets are scratchy, and your sleeping position is based more on hierarchy than comfort. Did you think you'd get the good spot near the hearth? No, that's for the elderly or the infant. You're somewhere on the edge, curled around someone's knees. And as the fire dies down, you're left in a room that gets darker and colder than you've ever known. The candlelight dances on soot-black beams overhead, flickers and dies. The night sounds. Your brain, used to white noise machines and the hum of electronics, now strains to interpret new sounds. The groan of timber expanding in cold. A mouse rustling in the rushes. Your bunkmate quietly praying in Latin. A snore, a cough, a sigh. Then, far off, a dog barking. Or was that a scream? The worst part? No one else reacts. They've heard it before. You haven't. The smells that don't leave you. There's no escaping the smells. You lie down with them. You breathe them in. Smoke, sweat, chamber pot, old onions hanging above you, wool blankets washed once in a blue moon. Your modern nose is in shock. It doesn't just wake you, it lingers. You start to dream about the smell. You wake up still inside it. There is no candle that can save you now. The midnight moment. And then, when you finally drift off, you wake up again. Your body stirs. Why? Because it's the midnight divide, the moment between first sleep and second sleep. Your body still remembers how to rise at midnight, even if your mind doesn't. And what do you see? Someone sitting upright, whispering a prayer, or maybe muttering something to the window. They're backlit by the moonlight. You can't see their face. They don't see you. The dream logic of the dark. Time feels strange in the dark. You might think you've woken after a full night, but only an hour has passed. Or you blink, and it's morning. The door creaks open with a chill of fresh air. A barefoot child runs through the room. Someone has already fetched water. You haven't moved. Your spine feels twisted. You're not sure if you dreamed that scream, or if it was part of someone else's dream, shared through skin and shadow in that bed. The morning fog.
When the sun rises, you're not rested. You're disoriented. The room smells the same, but it looks older somehow. The dreams cling to your limbs. You feel like you lived someone else's life for a few hours. In truth, you did. Because sleeping in a medieval bedroom wasn't just a necessity, it was an act of survival. Every night, every sleep. Final whisper. So the next time you fluff your pillow and adjust your AC, spare a thought for the hundreds of nameless sleepers who curled under scratchy wool, breathed in ash and garlic, and whispered to the dark. They would not have survived your bedroom, and you would not have survived theirs.